Sup gamers. There was recently a huge controversy between MoistCr1TiKaL and a couple other YouTubers, including Diesel Patches and Sneeko. But I'm going to be just covering most of it. It's just a huge shit show all around. But basically, the conversation starts with Sneeko asking Moist if a 16-year-old could marry a 22-year-old if both parties, parents included, are consenting. Moist then says, no, that's not okay. And then Sneeko says if that same person then wants to get a gender change and chop their weenie off with a big old pair of scissors, and then Moist says that is okay. But that's, you know, I'll just pull up the clip.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it, you're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting, I'm ready to go, I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moist says that woman's a pedophile. But if then, the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Diesel Patches also had this to say about what Moist stated in the clip.
Now let's get one thing settled. Sneeko is a dipshit, but this dipshit did expose the hypocrisy of Charlie's argument. If you support minors being granted access to gender-affirming surgery with parental permission, then logically you should also be okay with child marriage with parental permission. I hate to say it, but Sneeko's logic here is sound. Never thought I'd utter that sentence in my life, but here we are.
Later, Moist did state about how he thought it was all hyperbole and tried to clarify that it's not really what he meant.
Through the process of making that decision, I thought that's what it was. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole with the dick cutting off shit. I thought that's what we were talking about. And then if you decide that's the path you want to take, it is your body, you can do that. You can make that decision once you become of age to make a decision like that. I just don't understand how it got so muddled. Half of the fucking conversation was hyperbole, and apparently that one was literal. Or it's a very malicious attack on what I'm trying to say, or a misunderstanding. I don't know. Diesel
Patches then had this to say about when Moist tried to, quote, damage control.
A theory that I have extensively studied. I believe Charlie is trying to appeal to what he believes to be the majority, when really most people believe children transitioning, especially through surgical means, is greatly unpopular, the total opposite of the mainstream opinion, and that's why he had to claim it was all hyperbole when he found out during his stream that his argument and his opinion was unpopular.
Before the debate even went off, Sneeko was trashing MoistCr1TiKaL online about how Moist had not made a video about Chris Tyson being a child predator yet, and specifically pointing out the fact that Moist did make a video about Dr. Disrespect being a child predator. MoistCr1TiKaL did cover the slander against him while he was also covering the Chris Tyson allegations and controversy as well in his video.
Yo, look out, MoistCr1TiKaL is not going to go talk about the Chris situation because he wants to have the Mr. Beast collab.
I was always going to make a full breakdown of this because it's bad. It's a horrible situation. So yes, you're right. I do talk about like big trending bad shit like Dr. Disrespect or like Cody Ko most recently. I don't know why people thought I wouldn't talk about this. So I've never been someone to and shy away from a bad situation like this just because I know or am familiar with the person that it's about.
There was another YouTuber known as Jamari that also gave his input as to the controversy and what he thinks of the situation.
To me, the blanket age of consent all over the world should probably be 18. Like, at least in this country, that's when you start getting more personal freedoms. That's the age where if you up, the government no longer sees you as a child, and they're gonna punish you as an adult. And at that point, you're really just free to make your own decisions and live with the repercussions of your actions. Because at the end of the day, I am for adults having their own personal freedoms. But should a child be able to make that type of life-altering decision? Absolutely not. Should their parents be able to make that type of life-altering decision for their kid? To me, no.
There is also another controversy that MoistCr1TiKaL is caught up in, which would be the fact that he's just leaving the internet, which he himself has stated that that is not the case, and it's just him leaving a podcast and something else, which reads as follows. Hey everyone, effective immediately, Charlie has made the decision to leave both the official podcast and the Red Thread. He wants to go on an indefinite hiatus to scale back his time spent on the internet. We obviously wish him the best, for everyone to respect his decision, and for all to know that the show will always be open for him to drop by and talk shop should he wish to return. As I said, he does touch on this in his recent response to all the controversy.
And then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as MoistCritikal's taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet, fundamentally. When looking at the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with the internet.
In his response video, he does cover a couple more points that I think I've already covered, but he reiterates them in all one big go because he just wants to make sure that people know what he's talking about and what he's thinking.
It is a long process, and I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's just not how it works. And I didn't think that that's what was actually being discussed because it's so fucking silly. Now, I'm sure there's some really fringe cases you can point to where that kind of thing did happen, but it's not common. Thus, I didn't think that's what was being referred to in the conversation.
There is still a logical problem with this, though, that is factual and not opinionated, where you can still have a stance on something, even though it's not common and happens very, very, very little. You can still have a stance on it instead of just dismissing it and saying that doesn't happen very often, so it doesn't make sense. Moist does take responsibility here, but I will let him explain it to you in his words and not mine.
And it is, again, my mistake for not recognizing that at that moment it was being spoken about literally. So all that shit that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up. Like, it's so ridiculous.
I'm sure that there will be more controversy surrounding MoistCritiKal eventually, but as of now, this is pretty much all that I could find that was actually relatively important. But that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See ya.